I wasn't supposed to be in that room. Honestly, I wasn't even supposed to be in the building. That morning, I had delivered pastries to 5 offices, 2 apartments, and 1 garage that smelled like burned tires. When I reached the top floor of that glass tower, I had no idea I'd walk into the moment that would shatter and rebuild everything I thought I knew about myself. The conference room door was half open. My hands were full with a warm box labeled Catering Confidential. The secretary had stepped away, and I figured I'd just leave the order on the long table and go. I pushed the door open with my shoulder. That's when everything stopped. There were at least 12 of them. Suits. Watches that cost more than my mom's car. One woman with a red scarf so sharp it could cut. And sitting at the head of the table, empty chair. Everyone else was staring at me like I had broken something sacred. "I'm sorry," I stammered, just dropping off the food. No one said thank you. Someone chuckled. "Look," one of them said, loud enough for the room to hear. "Our delivery girl brought her opinion with the croissants." More laughter. I didn't even realize I had said anything. But apparently I had muttered something about the chart on the screen, something like, "Those numbers don't make sense." They laughed like I was a child playing with their calculators. But one man didn't laugh. He stood slowly from the back of the room. He was younger than the others, in his mid-30s maybe, with that quiet, dangerous look like he could tear someone apart without raising his voice. Dark gray suit, no tie, eyes that didn't blink often enough. "What did you say?" he asked me, not unkindly. I froze. Nothing. I was just looking. "Sorry, I'll go." "Wait." He stepped closer. The others stopped laughing. You could hear the hum of the AC kicking on. "Those numbers," he said, turning back to the screen. "They don't make sense." Another silence. He looked at me again, then back at them. "Why didn't any of you catch that?" No one answered. He walked over to me and picked up the box of pastries. "Leave them here. And if you're not in a hurry, I'd like to hear more of your thoughts." I blinked. "Excuse me." "Stay," he said, with zero hesitation. "I'm Alex, Isabella," I replied, still unsure if I was dreaming. I ended up sitting quietly in the corner for the rest of the meeting, watching them all scramble to adjust projections based on what I had accidentally noticed. They ignored me, except him. When it ended, he walked me out himself. "You have a good eye," he said, pressing the elevator button. "I just delivered food. You saw something no one else did. That's rare." I didn't know what to say. No one had ever said anything like that to me. Not in a room full of people with titles and gold pens. "Come back next week," he said, "if you're interested." "For more food?" He smiled the first time I saw the faint edge of warmth on that face. "No, for more thoughts." The elevator doors opened. I stepped in. Before they closed, he added, "Wear whatever you want. They'll get used to it." I almost didn't go back. All week, I replayed that moment in the elevator, wondering if he was serious or just being polite in a strange corporate way. But something in his voice didn't sound like a joke. He wasn't like the others. He didn't need to impress anyone. He was watching. So on Tuesday, I showed up. Same building, same cold lobby, same woman at reception with perfect hair and a gaze that could freeze oxygen. "I'm here to see Alex," I said, hugging my oversized tote bag. She looked me up and down. Denim jacket, sandals, no makeup. I didn't try to fit in. I couldn't afford to. "And your last name?" she asked with that slow, sharp tone people use when they want you to feel like you don't belong. I gave it. After a long pause, she buzzed, "Someone. He's expecting you." I took the elevator alone this time. When I reached the 35th floor, Alex was already waiting in the hallway, sleeves rolled, phone in hand. He nodded toward a side room smaller than the conference room, but still bigger than any place I'd ever worked in. We sat facing each other, a whiteboard behind him, a laptop in front of me. I had no idea what to do with it. "Relax," he said. "This isn't a job interview. I just want your perspective on." He pointed to a deck of slides. "Marketing pitch, fresh eyes. You're not poisoned by corporate thinking yet." I raised an eyebrow. "Yet?" He smiled again, that subtle, rare curve of his lips. "Just read. Tell me what feels fake." So I did. At first, I was cautious. A few comments about the phrasing, then a color choice that looked a little aggressive. Then I couldn't help it, I kept going. I told him what parts sounded arrogant, which slogans made no emotional sense, and which ones made me feel something. He just listened. No sarcasm, No interruptions. No fake praise. You think like someone who's lived real life, he said finally. We need that here. I think like someone who's been broke since 12. Exactly. It became our weekly ritual. Every Tuesday morning, I came in for an hour. No contract, no title, just ideas. I'd bring a notebook. He'd bring coffee. Sometimes we barely talked about work. He asked about my mom, my side hustles, what music I liked, what scared me most. I told him once casually that I had panic attacks when I was younger. He didn't flinch, didn't tilt his head or get awkward. Instead, he said, "Me too, still do sometimes." That moment sat between us like a quiet secret. By the third week, I started noticing the looks from the other executives, the whispers, the slight change in tone when I entered a room. They thought I didn't belong. They were right, I didn't. But I wasn't leaving either, because Alex kept calling me back. One day, while reviewing a strategy slide, he paused and stared at me longer than usual. "You ever think of doing this for real?" he asked. "This? Strategy. Insights. You see what others miss," I laughed. "I have zero experience. Experience is overrated. Most of them are experienced in doing things the wrong way." I swallowed hard. No one would take me seriously. "I do." 3 words. That shouldn't have meant as much as they did. But when you've spent your whole life unseen, unheard, and underestimated being seen, that's everything. The shift started small. My name got added to an internal brainstorming list. Alex invited me to sit in on 2 more meetings. This time, no food in hand, no awkward silences, just me, my words, and the storm behind every look across the table. And that's when the trouble began. The first sabotage was subtle. A missing file here. An outdated version of a pitch sent to my inbox with a smirk and a "must have been a mix-up." Then someone forwarded a joke about imposter syndrome but made sure I was CC'd. I didn't say anything. I'd lived through worse. But Alex noticed. He always did. After a tense meeting where one executive openly questioned why I was even in the room, I left early, too ashamed to look back. 5 minutes later, my phone buzzed. "Alex, you okay?" I didn't answer. He showed up at the cafe where I worked weekends. Just walked in wearing a hoodie and jeans, like he wasn't someone who could buy the entire block if he felt like it. "You didn't answer," he said. "I'm fine." He sat across from me. Didn't order anything. "Listen," he said, eyes locked on mine. "You're here because you've earned it, not because I brought you in. Don't let them make you forget that. They hate me. They fear you. That's different." I wanted to believe that. I really did. But the next week, someone sent an anonymous tip to our, claimed I was inappropriately involved with an executive, said I was influencing decisions for personal gain. They didn't name Alex. They didn't have to. I was called into a casual meeting with a manager I'd never met. She smiled the whole time, that fake, corporate smile that's more about warning than welcoming. "We just want to ensure fairness," she said, "and avoid misperceptions." "I don't even have a job title," I said. "Exactly," she replied. When I told Alex, he didn't say a word for a long time. Then, "It's because I trust you more than I trust them." That's not exactly helping my case. "I know." He stood, pacing. "I should have protected you better. You didn't do anything wrong." He stopped, turned. "Yes, I did." There was something in his voice I hadn't heard before. Guilt. Or maybe fear. Of what? I didn't know. Not yet. He took a breath. "I want to make this official," he said. "A real position, real title, real contract." I blinked. "Wait. Are you?" "Yes. It's long overdue. I didn't ask for that." "I know. That's why you deserve it." The following Monday, my name appeared on the org chart. Consultant Strategic Insights underneath Alex's department. Still unofficial in some ways, but real enough to draw blood. Emails stopped being polite. One VP sent a memo questioning my background. Another called a meeting and didn't invite me, then blamed me for not attending. It was like walking through a hallway full of knives. Except every time I looked up, Alex was there. And every time he looked at me, it felt like gravity shifted. One night, after a 12-hour strategy session, we ended up alone in the break room. It was raining outside. The kind of rain that blurred the skyline and silenced the city. I sat on the counter. He leaned against the fridge. Neither of us spoke for a while. Then, softly, he asked, "What do you want from all this?" I shrugged. "I don't know. A chance to matter." "You already do." I looked at him. The air between us stretched thin. "I mean outside of this place," he added, and I understood what he was really asking. I should have said something wise, or pulled away, or at least pretended I didn't feel the same pull. But I didn't. Instead, I said, "I don't know what this is, but it scares me." He stepped closer. Me too. When he kissed me, it wasn't a fireworks moment. It wasn't cinematic or loud. It was quiet, like two people finally letting go of the weight they'd been carrying. But we both knew the second our lips touched, it was the beginning of something too dangerous to be called a mistake. The fallout was immediate. Whispers became open tension. One executive resigned for personal reasons. Another requested to be reassigned to a different division. I wasn't blind. They didn't hate me because I was wrong. They hated me because I was right. And because he listened to me. But the worst came when a photo surfaced. Just one. Me and Alex, leaving the office late. Too close. His hand brushing my back. My smile too soft. Someone had sent it anonymously to the board. It spread like wildfire. I was summoned again. But this time, not by hour. The room was darker, colder. 3 board members. No one I recognized. They asked polite questions, dripping in legal caution. "How long has this relationship been going on? Did you benefit materially? Did you influence decisions that favored your position?" I answered calmly, but my throat burned the whole time. When I left, Alex was already waiting outside. "What did they say?" he asked. "They want you to step back, at least for now." He didn't flinch. He nodded slowly, as if he'd already known. "I'll do it. Alex, this isn't your fight, Isabella." "Yes, it is." His eyes met mine, fiercer than ever. "Not if it costs you everything." I didn't say it aloud, but I was already there. I had nothing to go back to, nowhere to run. For better or worse, I'd crossed a line, and part of me didn't regret it. The weeks that followed were brutal. They moved my desk to the far end of the floor. No more meetings, no emails, just silence. It was exile, executed without a word. Alex stayed away. I knew he was doing it to protect me, but that didn't make it easier. I kept showing up, kept sitting at that empty desk, kept doing research I wasn't asked to do, until one afternoon, a woman I'd never seen approached me. "Are you Isabella?" I nodded. She smiled. "I'm from the founder's office. He wants to see you." I froze. "The founder? Mr. Whitmore? He's back in town. He saw some of your notes. Alex had told me about him, a brilliant, reclusive man who left the day-to-day years ago. No one really knew where he'd gone. Some said he was sick. Others said he was just tired of the politics." I followed her into a private elevator, heart pounding, hands shaking. I didn't belong here. And yet, here I was. He was older than I expected, thinner, but his eyes sharp, calculating, oddly kind. He didn't smile. "I've read your thoughts on the brand strategy," he said. "I didn't mean for anyone else to see those. They're good." I blinked. "You understand something they don't," he continued. "The heart of a company isn't in the boardroom. It's in the people no one listens to." I didn't know what to say, so he kept going. "They're trying to push you out. I know, but they forgot I still own this place." I stared at him. "You're not just here for Alex, are you?" I shook my head. "Good," he said, "because this is bigger than him. And now it's yours too." He gave me a temporary project. Small, quiet, off the radar. But it had teeth. And once I was back in motion, I didn't stop. I built the pitch, ran the data, quietly pulled insights from the very people they ignored. The janitor who knew every flaw in the building layout. The receptionist who knew which clients lied. The intern who caught every outdated policy no one bothered to fix. Together, we built something they never saw coming. And when I presented it 2 weeks later in the main boardroom with Whitmore silently watching from the back, they didn't clap. They didn't smile. But they didn't speak either, because they couldn't deny it. It worked. And for the first time, I didn't feel like a guest. I felt like a threat. I should have walked away when I still had the chance. But the night Alex showed up at my door, soaking wet from the rain, I knew I wouldn't. He didn't say anything at first. Just stood there, eyes full of something I didn't dare name. "I didn't come here to make things worse," he said. "But I can't. I can't keep pretending this is nothing. My breath caught. It's not nothing. He stepped inside, leaving puddles on the floor. We stood in silence, inches apart, in a space that suddenly felt too full. He touched my hand like it might break. Tell me to go. I didn't. He kissed me, not like the first time. Not cautious, not careful. This was different. This was a decision. After that night, nothing felt the same, but everything on the outside stayed painfully identical. We didn't talk about it. Not at work. Not in texts. Not even in looks. We knew better, but there were moments, short, stolen seconds when his hand brushed mine passing a folder, or his eyes lingered a breath too long during a presentation, and I knew we were one mistake away from everything crumbling. Then came the contract meeting, the one meant to redefine roles across departments. It was a trap. I walked in and realized half the room was set up to make me fall. They had printouts, quotes, flagged inconsistencies, and reports I'd never even touched. I wasn't just being sidelined now. They wanted me erased, discredited, ruined. And when they brought up my unauthorized proximity to an executive, I knew they'd saved their sharpest blade for last. Alex stood, calm, too calm. This ends now, he said. Are you resigning? One of them asked, too eager. No, he replied. I'm promoting her. Silence. He slid a folder across the table. Effective immediately, Isabella is head of emerging strategy. She reports directly to me, or Whitmore if needed. One of them laughed bitterly. You can't just manufacture legitimacy, Alex. No, he said, but I can recognize it when I see it. Later that night, I found him in his office, staring out the window like he was searching for a way out that didn't exist. You just painted a target on both our backs, I said. I don't care. You should. He turned to me. Let them come. I'm done apologizing for believing in someone who actually deserves to be here. I swallowed hard. You're not just risking your job. He walked over, stopped inches from me. I'd risk everything. And I knew then whatever we weren't built to survive this place. But we weren't about to let it tear us apart either. They came for him first. A formal investigation, alleged misconduct, internal ethics review. The kind of language that sounds neutral until you realize it was built to destroy people quietly. They suspended him without warning, told him to clear his office. No hearing, no chance to speak. He was gone in less than an hour. And just like that, I was alone. They thought I'd break. Maybe I almost did. But grief has a way of burning through hesitation. It strips you raw and sharp. All I had left was the truth. And I was finally done hiding it. I went to Whitmore, not through back channels, not with a whisper. I walked straight through the front doors of the founder's floor and asked to see him. The receptionist hesitated. He's not seeing anyone, Todd. Tell him it's about the numbers from Q2 and the people he trusted. He let me in. He sat in his leather chair, watching me the way a man watches a forest fire, curious if it's natural or started on purpose. I placed the file on his desk. They fabricated half the accusations. The documents, the signatures, the dates all planted. He raised an eyebrow. And how do you know this? Because I found the originals. I printed them the day they were edited. He leaned back slowly. Why are you doing this, Isabella? I didn't hesitate. Because I refused to let truth lose to power. The board meeting was scheduled for Friday morning. They thought it was just another vote. Another way to quietly bury what was left of us. But when they walked in and saw Whitmore at the head of the table with me sitting at his right, their faces changed. He let them talk. They danced around their lies, defended the decisions, quoted policy, and then, without a word, he nodded to me. I stood, and I played them the recording, one of their own, 2 weeks earlier, laughing about how easy it was to fake the complaint, to get rid of the girl and the boy in love with her. They went pale. No one said a word, not even when Whitmore quietly added, "You're all relieved of duty." Effective immediately. I didn't cry when I walked out of that room. I cried later when I found Alex waiting outside, as if he never left. He opened his arms, and I fell into them. I thought you were gone, I whispered. I couldn't go, he said. Not while you were still fighting. We didn't need to say more. The war was over, but something new was just beginning. It's been a year now, and sometimes when I pass the reflection of myself in the mirrored hallway outside my office, I have to remind myself that it's real, that I stayed, that I was enough. And him? He's no longer just a vice president. He's my partner. In business, in battle, in everything. We don't hide anymore. We build, we lead. And sometimes late at night, when everyone's gone home and the lights cast long shadows across the boardroom, I sit across from him and remember the girl who walked in wearing the wrong shoes, the wrong clothes, and too much honesty for her own good. She didn't belong, but she stayed anyway. Because sometimes the story doesn't begin when you arrive where you planned. It begins when you show up where you were never supposed to be and refuse to leave. If this story made you feel something, don't forget to like and subscribe. More stories like this raw, real, and unforgettable are coming next.